What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we do always start the show by being transparent. Yesterday, I did not get involved with anything, so I don't even have anything to report. Vino, I'm curious if you end up getting to the window on the one game we had yesterday, or you know, how's everything on your end?
Things are good, Skee. Didn't get involved yesterday. No real opinion on that one. Game turned out far differently than I thought it would, so kind of glad I didn't. Summer League, we went back to the Summer League well, had another 2-0, 10-3 now in Summer League as it heads towards its end here. Consolation and championship stuff. But big card today in the W, so we'll see if we can find some dollars hidden behind these four games somewhere.
All right, let's start at the top. We have the Dream and the Tempo. Looking at this one, it opened. I don't have the openers. They didn't put them out there, but I think it was seven. I think an opener was seven here, and I'm looking at 9.5 total, 181.5 as far as injuries are concerned. I see Pow Pow and Bree, both game time decision. For Toronto, Sykes and Rice are both out. First thing when I see this game, I mean, we know the tempo. They want to play a little fast. They don't play the best defense. The Dream, I know, want to play fast too, and they haven't been playing the best defense. Makes me want to just immediately go to the over. But I don't like the thought of Bree potentially coming in. She's not the fastest player. I don't know. My first thought is over. I'm curious what you think on this game.
Well, they played twice within the last month. One of them hit 179, 102.77 Dream win. The other one hit 181, 94.87 Dream win. So Dream averaged 98 points against this team. The other side averaging about 82. Obviously, Bree Jones didn't play in either of those. The first game around, no Kiki Rice, which we don't have tonight, no Sabali for Toronto. So they've come close. They've just upped this number too much. I looked at this game for a time yesterday because Atlanta seems to have the tendency to play very high-scoring games against bad defenses. They lead the league in fast break points. They want to get out and run. Toronto's going to allow you to get out and run. And it makes sense to play over, but the odds maker, again, we can break down teams all we want, but we really have to break down the number. And is the number at a point where we have to draw a red line or not? They haven't crossed this number of 181.5 yet this year. They've gotten to 181. So it becomes a question of whether or not, you think that, in my mind, here's what I'll say about myself in looking at this. I think Toronto's due for a bounce back offensive game. Had a bad offensive game last time out. They've played for a long time now without Sykes and Rice and had high-scoring games. Their defense isn't there. Atlanta just needs wins in the worst way, and Atlanta's been giving up points lately. So I think you said that about their defense not being all that good lately. If I were going to lean here, I would still lean toward the over, even though they haven't made it over 181.5 yet. They've come really close. Like I say, they've hit 181 and 179. I would trust that this one gets over the 181.5 here. I just think that the offenses and the tempo and the amount of chances you'll have to score here will be enough to get it over 181.5.
All right, next game up, we have Sparks and Sky. -1.5 for Chicago, total of 182.5. For the injury report, I see Cardoso game time decision, no Dejanay, no Skyler. For Los Angeles, Williams is game time decision, still no Kelsey Plum. This is another one where my first thought is, same kind of deal. The Sparks play fast, don't play a whole lot of defense. Chicago playing very fast, not playing a whole lot of defense either. I mean, it seems like 1 + 1 = 2. It's another over here. Any thoughts from you, Vino?
Yeah, this last 6 games Chicago's played, Skee, I'll just read you the final score totals: 206, 188, 189, 187, 185, and they throw 143 in there against Phoenix. Chicago been playing very, very high tempo, high scoring games. And LA the same. Remember the other day when we were doing the afternoon show and there were afternoon games being played, one of them being the Sparks, and the halftime score was low. We bet over second half. Team wound up crushing the 181, not crushing, but going past the 181 full game total. LA games always peak in the second half, if you ask me. And if they have the first halves, it really goes over. Their last 4, 198, 189, 193, 183. I don't think there's a case to be made for playing under, unless you're going to tell me ahead of time that neither side is going to shoot, 30% from the field. Then I could agree with you, but otherwise, I think you got to play over in that game.
All right, we're in agreement here. We'll keep it going down the list. Next, I see the Storm and the Fever, 9.5, and a total of 177. Looking at the injury report for this one, I do see Izzy and Mayer out. Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston both game time decision. Clark is more probable. Boston is truly questionable as of right now. Um, the Fever, I don't know why I'm blanking out a little bit. Yeah, the Fever lost their last game. I just can't remember who they lost to.
It was Golden State, Skee.
Golden State, yes. And then the Storm, they have been playing some good basketball. I know they've been traveling a lot. Storm did lose to the Sky in their last game. Um, this is an interesting one. I know the Fever do play the Liberty tomorrow, and like we talked about last time. It was a front of a back to back for the Fever. Usually one of the two sit right, Boston or Clark, and it looks like Boston is the one who's probably going to sit here. I know they'll need her tomorrow versus the length that the Liberty have, but they may need her tonight too. Any thoughts on Storm and Fever?
My first reaction here, Skee, was that, and it was going to be a top play for me, was to play over the 174.5, 175 that we saw yesterday on the openers. But then you dig into Seattle, and you find that they rarely, if ever, find their way over this 177 number. I mean, it's more often than not that they stay under it, but I keep bringing back, if Boston doesn't play, the advantages for Seattle's size are real in this game. And I just think that when you play Golden State's defense, and then you come back the next game and you play a mid-tier defense like Seattle's, and you're Indiana, who leads the league in scoring at 93 points a game, you're probably going to score your share of buckets here in this one. I'm leaning toward Indiana team total. I don't trust their defense enough to lay this type of price. I do think Seattle's that in-between team, right? I know they've hurt you in a couple instances that either they look really nice offensively, they look, terrible offensively. There's really no way to gauge them, but I think the steady force here, the more safe play, is to just go ahead and back Indiana to get over their 93.5, which, like I say, is their season average anyway. And they're coming off that game against Golden State, which is a far different defense to try and crack than this Seattle defense.
Do you still like it if Boston is out?
I would. I just think it gets a little bit faster in that case. I know Aaliyah Boston's good for a lot of offense, especially interior offense. And as I say this, Skee, it kind of makes the case that I started with of playing full game over, thinking that without Boston, Seattle gets their share. Indiana runs back down, gets their share because they'll have more guards, more small ball type style here tonight. But I can't get over not trusting Seattle's offense enough. That's probably the tipping point for me. I trust Indiana to score, especially against this defense, but I just don't know about the other side, even though they have advantages inside.
Couple things that you said I agree with. Fever defense is untrustworthy. Same thing that I always say. I mean, if I can't trust you to get stops, how am I going to trust you to win by this big of a number? So, based on that, and just the potential for Aaliyah Boston to be out and having an advantage inside too, I would be looking at the Storm on the side in this game. What up, you Capper? Good to see you in the chat. Definitely hit you up because I'm not very far. Anything else you want to add here, Vino, before we keep it going?
I could add for you real quick here, Skee, as I look it up. Seattle, Indiana played one time way back in May, but still they played. In that game, Seattle didn't have Malonga, didn't have Ezzy, who they won't have tonight, but didn't have Awafam either. And that's the two bigs that'll be playing here tonight. They've been playing for a while, Malonga and Fam. And in that game, these teams got to 167 without them even being in the game. And tonight, if they're in the game without Boston, when you look it up, you find that Aaliyah Boston has the number one individual defensive rating of any Indiana Fever player. She's their best defender. Without her, those two could have a pretty decent night. Like I say, I got to 167 without them the first time around. Could get over the full game number here tonight.
You know, unless it's changed in the past couple of days. Surprisingly, she was also their best 3 point shooter, 3 point percentage.
Mm.
Um, I was surprised when I kind of heard that the first time. But we'll see what we get from Storm and Fever. Last one on the slate is the Sun and Mercury. It's like 4.5 now after it opened 5.5 and a total of 163.5. For Connecticut, Sinai Rivers is probable. Yes, probable. Morrow is more like doubtful. For Phoenix, let's see here. Who's Linkskins is probable. Sammy Whitcomb is questionable. Natasha Mack is doubtful. Um, Phoenix coming off that game versus Minnesota. I mean, they shot the ball really well. They shot the ball extremely well. But you got a career high from Kelly McBride. I mean, not career high, season high from Kelly McBride, career high from Olivia Miles. And that was enough for the Lynx to get a 104 to 100 victory. Usually I might just, if I just look at the numbers, I would think that I can't really trust Phoenix if they shot that good and still didn't win. Like it's hard to trust them. But when I think about the career and season high, and they are playing the Lynx, who are one of the best, if not one of the best, if not the best. Then you come play Connecticut. I don't know. I like to think that regression could help Connecticut. I like to think that Connecticut has a size advantage and can keep this one close. But when you start getting to 4.5, it is pretty much like getting close to asking them to win. And that's when I start to have a little hesitation. Any thoughts here, Vino? Sun and Mercury?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying because the Sun are untrustable in the second half. They just proven and prove it again. How about these numbers, Ski, really quick? If you're a first half, second half better. First half, Connecticut, last 14 games, they're 11-3 against the spread first half. Phoenix, 9-2, even better, at least percentage wise. 9-2, last 11 in the first half. So you got two great first half teams, at least, over the course of the last, 10, 15 games. And then it's kind of a crapshoot what happens to these teams in the second half. They kind of disappear. Phoenix 1-3, last four second halves. Connecticut, we've talked about it nauseum about how they throw games away in the second half. I do like what you said about the interior size. Like I've said a couple times before, they've decided to go to a Twin Towers type starting lineup. Griner's been way more effective. And with Nelson Adota, without Natasha Mack on the other side, Phoenix is hurting size-wise, interior-wise. So you would think that Connecticut, the style that they're trying to play now is less possessions, more inside stuff. You see Brittany Griner's numbers get better and better over the course of the last 5 games. She's having big games, except for the one where she sat out. So I kind of look toward under in this game. I feel like it would probably be more defensive oriented and more slower pace. I know Phoenix wants to get out and run, but Connecticut, when you check the numbers, they're just not allowing opponents to get a lot of shots up at the basket. And they don't turn it over. With Layla in control of the ball, they haven't really been a high turnover team. So Phoenix get cheap points. I don't know if that's going to happen either. So if I had to look here, I'd probably look under. I know I don't say under all that often, but this number at 163.5, I see a couple of 164s. I'm staring at the odds screen now. So you can get a little bit better number. I would sort of lean toward under in that game.
All right, that's the slate for today. We'll go ahead and throw up some of these usual things that we do, like the buy two, or I'm sorry, 2-for-1 3-day all access. Vino and myself, $69 get all plays, all sports, or you want to just rock with one of us, buy three get three free. Comes out to 6 days for just $69. And I will put this one up here again. I mean, if I can even find it. I think this is still up there. If you buy NBA early bird, you get the rest of WNBA free. And the reason I will still put this up here today is because you see that box right there? It includes Skee's 5% WNBA best bets, 14-5 the last 2 seasons. I mean, I've only lost one this season, and it was by half a point. I have a 5% play today. So if you want to get involved with the next year of NBA and you want the rest of the WNBA, today would be a good day to do it. Vino, anything else you would like to promote? And feel free. And if you have a best bet, we'd love to hear it. If you don't, no worries.
Yeah, a couple of things here, Skee, really, really quick. Weekend time, of course. CFL action over the weekend. Been a 13-7, 65% start to that league. Summer league play. Going to come to a conclusion. Dwindling down this weekend, but 10-3 in summer league. And, of course, the W going here as well. So there's 6 days for 3 is where I'd kind of recommend if you're interested in me, like we always say, if you think the guy in the right box is garbage and you want to rock with Skee, he shows you ways to do that. If you think that there's hope for me to give you a couple of winners, then I'm giving you the best way I think possible. I'm going to leave you with the best bet here only because I bet it. There's also a play up and available right now at wagertalk.com that's different than this one. So I got a couple of WNBA plays tonight. But for the best bet, I'm going to leave the first game we talked about, Skee. Even though Atlanta Toronto didn't make it to 181, or excuse me, to 182 in either of the first 2 games, I did mention that they scored 181 and 179. I think they're going over tonight. I like Toronto's bounce back factor here offensively, especially against the Atlanta defense, which hasn't been great. And Atlanta just does seem to have that bully mentality when they're playing bad defenses. They score big. So these teams have proven they can get in and around this number. I think tonight they get over. So give me best bet Atlanta Toronto over 181 and a half.
Good stuff. And, I'll just endorse that as the best bet for the show because I like it. It was the first thing that popped out to me when I saw that game. So good stuff there. We will wrap it up. That is it for this week. So best of luck, everybody, on all your action this weekend. Vino and I will be back on Monday. We'll catch you guys then.